Bienvenue à tous. It's time now for our international press review. We'll look at the world's press today with Eve Irvine. Eve, where would you like to start?
Well, we'll start actually with the British paper, The Independent, who's running their front page, has a big title saying, "Remember him." And of course, they're asking you if you remember the US President George Bush, with all eyes looking at possible successors to his position in the White House. He's being slightly overlooked lately, but as you mentioned in your news bulletins, he is going on a visit to the Middle East this week. And The Independent basically bases their article saying that this is a last-ditch effort for him to up his legacy, to make an improvement on. Go on, tell me.
I mean, they've picked that picture of him looking like a chimp. It's just great, isn't it, the way they pick up these shots of him looking stupid, you know?
Absolutely. Well, the article is more or less positive, though. It goes into, you know,
it's good, is it?
Yeah, this is my interpretation. He's like how he's going to keep up this momentum of the Annapolis peace conference, and that he might get the two sides back talking. And only in a sentence do they say that this trip might also talk a lot about Iran, which, if you look at the Haaretz paper in Israel, that focuses more on this, and they quote a mass member saying that this is really all President Bush is coming to the Middle East for, is to talk about Iran and go into that situation. Also in the Washington Post, it's interesting to compare the two angles, and the Washington Post also says that the trip is really for Arab and Israeli leaders because they're questioning Bush's momentum now to deal with Iran, something Israel wants. They feel that Iran is a threat, and ever since this report came out in the US, they feel that he's kind of stalling on that.
So positive from Britain's Independent, scepticism from Israel's Haaretz, and from the Washington Post?
More that it's more of interest for Israeli and Arab leaders rather than for actually the Washington or the Western.
Okay, so we'll have to watch and see how that situation develops.
Angles.
What's next?
Well, actually, staying with the Washington Post, there's another article on Bush going into how George McGovern, a Democrat who ran for the White House against Nixon, is calling for George Bush and his Vice President Dick Cheney to be impeached, saying that there's a far stronger case to impeach them than there ever was for President Nixon, saying that they've repeatedly lied to the public, they've violated the Constitution on numerous occasions, saying that the war in Iraq is illegal, saying that there was never any weapons of mass destruction, saying that they're torturing prisoners on an ongoing basis, he's saying that American democracy has been totally derailed by this leader, and saying that the only way America can come back in the eyes of the world stage is by impeaching President.
So Nixon, of course, impeached Nixon impeached for spying on the Democrats at the time in Watergate, which obviously by today's standards, as McGovern points out, seems very, very small
minimal
beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next.
I'm going to move on. Well, there's an article actually, just before I move on from presidents, Libération in France. While the Washington Post ran this article looking at Bush's tally in office, Libération is calling on maybe doing the same thing on their president's ocracy. It devotes 5 pages to it. This, of course, coming after we saw a survey yesterday seeing him drop below 50% support for the first time since he's been elected. And another interesting figure in this is that 63% of French people say that Sarkozy's private life is too public.
Indeed. Sarkozy, a.k.a. Tom Cruise, as it revealed that Jacques Chirac had given him that nickname. There you go. Top Gun. Take it away. Anyway, there you go.
But anyway, in the French papers also there's an interesting article in Le Figaro calling our attention to the new door in Europe that's allowing immigrants to enter, saying that it's actually Greece, which has the largest border line of Europe. It's a ping-pong between the police and the immigrants, which they say are coming off the Turkish coast, and it talks about this battle that is brewing between Athens and Ankara, each side blaming the other for not arresting these illegal immigrants.
Okay, next.
Well, finally, just before we go, there's a very nice article in the Australian, and it's saying that wisdom really does come with age. And
Thank you.
Well, while this, when I first read it, I said, that's brilliant, I can still become more intelligent. But then I thought, that also means Mark Owen will always be wiser than me.
Indeed, because I'll always be older.
But it's basically said that verbal skills do improve with age, and even though after your 20s you start to lose brain cells, this improvement in your brain means that you still become wiser.
I eat a lot of fish, and that's why I'm quite brainy. Front page of L'Equipe. Just before we leave you, Paris FC, that's not Paris Saint-Germain, it's Paris FC, 3rd division, knocking Toulouse out of the French Cup. I'll leave you with you. Thank you. All the best. See you later.